I will stop in question number 8. Let's read the question. So why he mentioned the rainbow, perhaps to illustrate an idea. It's a good read it very quickly. Did you find the answer? And let me help you for the idea of this question. As I told you, any author or any writer, if he or she wants to prove an idea or to help the reader to understand something, he gives example. For example, here he said, which is actually the same effect that you see a rainbow when light hits rain. So the main focus here, why does the sky turn red at sunrise and the sunset? So he gives you this example, just like to imagine when you see a rainbow, it is the same. So he wants to explain here how this action happened. So that means it could be letter B, is to offer an example that the reader might recognize. That means the reader recognize something, know something. So the author or the writer wants to make the reader understand something. So he gives example, already the reader knows it. So that means to make the idea easy for the reader to understand. For letter A, wrong. Why? Because we are not talking about the origin of the light. The main idea here, it's not about the origin of the light. And this example, it's not an exception because it supports the main point. How it's an exception? You feel it? Because he said here actually the same effect. You see, so it's not an exception. So he is wrong. To show why blue waves scatter more easily, it does not. So D, it is wrong. That's why. So any example in any text in English is to support the main idea. As I told you about the ways and techniques of the author to let the reader believe. It could be quotation, it could be testimony, it could be quotation from experts, could be experiment, could be statistics, any way to let the reader believe the idea. This is called evidence. Here he used an example to make it clear and illustrative to the reader. That's why. So letter B is the best answer. Now do you imagine it?
Yes.
Let's jump to the next. Now it's your turn. The main function of these words. Remember, we don't ask you for the synonyms or meaning of words, but the idea around these words. Let's read it and define it.
C.
You said here, C, to identify a reason. Do we have a reason for the narrator's interest in the girl? Remember that this is word describe she, not the narrator, because the narrator, he said, I thought, I was. This word related to her. So this word does not describe the narrator at all. Feel it? So it's not seen. Let's find something. Why not to prove this point? A contrast between girl's appearance and her actions. What is the contrast? The appearance, she wearing very beautiful yellow hat, jaunty little black mantle. You see, this means she is very happy. But when you go to the other points, you will find something else. She said, but sobbing, crying uncontrollably. As he, the narrator says, I realized she was not just gazing at the water, but crying. This is contrast how to wear something very beautiful and you're crying at the same time. This is called contrast. That's why I tell you we need an idea in the text, not the meaning of the words, but the words already explain this character. Feel it?
Yes.
That's why. Of course, you delete letter B because it's not supported in the passage. And the letter A, of course, not supported. You didn't mention the true age at all. And that is, and you did your best. Let's jump to number 10.
A.
Letter A, I don't think so. But letter A, it is correct. That is right. So what illustrates a transaction? So we need to know what is happening and give us example to prove it. So A is the best answer indeed. What is the informal sector of sub-Saharan economy? What is mentioned here about it? He mentioned, and this is part to look, the informal sector, which is not regulated, there is no rules, not control, no taxes from the people who did this action, has become the prime system of doing business. See, the lack of government support not regulated prevents taxes from being assessed or collected, which in turn diminish support for public services or infrastructure. So people buy and sell and do transactions, but they don't pay taxes to help the public service for the country. And that is the same an action. That's right. Good job. Now let's go to the next. Complete the example. So we need an example to prove something. I said the success of such a program. So we need to know what is mentioned about the program and I need to support it. Let's go to read. Let me help you to understand it together. Number one, the success of such programs is evident. We need something to evidence. But what is it? He said here, making cycling safer by adding protected bike lanes. It can increase. Yes or no? And again, making bikes more accessible. So we need an idea to see that it's increased. If you found letter B, he said, used to have lower than other of the top of the 5 cities. Okay, but we're not talking about it became lower or not, and it's not all. It's the same. See, and this one is the bigger one, not lower than the top 5. That means letter B does not support the example of increasing, but letter A supported. In 2010, it was 2, and then after time, 5 years, it became 4. And let's go to Washington, D.C. We'll find it was, and look for 2010, the past, 2 and then became 4. So increased or not? Increased? Yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, letter A supported. That's why. Let's go for letter C. All of these now boast over. For ride bikes as has increased before, but we don't have this, does not support the point here. We're not talking about who boast or not, so letter C not support in the text. You catch it? And the success of the program, it's not about the commuters, the number of commuters, but we're talking about the number of bikes. See that? That's why. So letter 8 is supported. That is great. Let's jump to the next. He said here, for instance. So we need an example to prove an idea mentioned before. Let's read very quickly.
B.
You want to make it letter B, but letter B, no. Let's go to 22. This is 1. It's less than, what do you see? 300 or 200. As you imagine here, it must be here. So this is done. Now let's focus on the example. The example proves what? Proves these ideas. Look, he said here, has increased dramatically over the years. Dramatically increased? Yes. specifically in this part. So from 4 to 7, so just 3. Imagine from 2 to 4, just like 2. So we can focus on this part to tell how dramatically over the years, showing increasing customer preference, even though it does not increase uniformly over the years. And that is support the letter D. You see, while the number of registered electric cars rose between, there was a spike of almost additional registered car in 22. So increased, this means it support the comparison between how increased and how the customer preference has not increased uniformly. Feel it? So the number of cars increased, but the preference is not. That means you need ideas to improve both of that. That's why. Now let's go to the next. To complete again, I said but, so we need opposite. Let's go to read.
D.
Or letter D, but I think here he mentioned biologists speculated, they guessed, they were thinking, but not evident, whether the species still existed in the wild or not. But, so we need something related as mentioned in the text. He mentioned the letter D, the photograph might have been inaccurate, but we are not talking about the graph. Do we have any photographs here? Or he mentioned examination. That means they catch a specimen already, not only photographs. This idea not supported in this paragraph, but supported in general about the topic, but not in this. So anything not supported in the text or in the paragraph, don't use it. That's why. Now let's find. But we're able to locate living specimens that could be provide enough information for a positive. How did we know that they found living specimens? Because they found here molecular examination shows. This means they catch specimens from the wild. Getcha? That is why, and he said shows that already. That means they had an examination and they had result. This means they found the specimens. That's why. So letter B is correct. Feel it? That is right.
Yes.
Now letter B correct. Let's jump to something easy. Yes, we are going to start writing here, don't worry. Number 14. Yeah, we need fact. As you know, inference, the word infer means the answer is not in the text, but we need you to get facts from facts. So get facts based on something mentioned in the text. Let's find what is not mentioned.
B.
So do you believe it's B? Do we have any reason? Because I don't think so. Remember, the text does not mention the stages. We have details about stages. That means the test maker add details related to the topic general, but not in this paragraph. Feel it? That means all the answer correct, but this is what not mentioned. So A no. Do you have a second answer? Now let me help. Look for letter C. There are not enough patients to make the development of cure financially viable. So why there are not enough patients? Because look, most dies within the first decade of their life, mostly before 3 years, because it is so rare. That means there are no more patients to do the testing or to do anything. Feel it? This is one supported.
Yes.
So letter C it is mentioned. Again, pharmaceutical companies are responsible. How? I mentioned here they invested. Here companies are investing in research. Irresponsible, it's opposite. How can I make facts not mentioned? So letter A is wrong. That's why the skill of inference. As we ask you what is true, subset mentions the text. So letter D, letter C it is correct. Again, given a patient adequate for this one can help reduce the effect. Is this mentioned? No. We mentioned we have here this analysis, but we didn't mention that if we give him enough or not. So it's not mentioned. Now let's go for the writing structure. Let me help you. When you find such as, you are going to introduce examples. So we need a list. So now and now and now and now and that is the end of the segment. So the comma before end. So not before, not after. It must be before. So it's a letter B. So this is one. It does not make sense. How? Structure is wrong. Here we don't have two commas before and after. So letter D is wrong. That's all. Feel it? So it's about the list and size. Now let's jump to 16. You can try first. Let me help you. Always Malak follow the rules. Is before full stop complete? Let's check the beginning. While subordinated conjunction needs two clauses joined by comma. Is this is two clauses? Because you stopped the word in this content. This is only one clause. So we need subordinated conjunction clause, comma, clause. So A is wrong. Letter B, it's correct. Letter B, it could be correct, but we have a problem. Before this content, it's not complete. Why? He said here, now is the winter of our, this content is. All of that is the name. All of that is the name. As you mentioned, something is. You see, frequently used to. Because this is comma before the second clause. Not this is comma. So that means B is wrong. Take a chat. That means you are going to separate the subject, that is a subject, from the verb that is. This is not accepted. So that means the letter D, it is correct. So while now is the winter of our, this content is. So all of these, the subject, and then the verb is. So the first clause stops here. The second one starts after it. So we have a rule, and it comes in any test. Subordinated conjunction at the beginning, we need two clauses joined by comma, full stop. Subject, verb, complement. Subject, verb, complement. Remember the comma before the beginning of the second clause. And we need comma, not semicolon or dash for instance. But if the subordinating conjunction in the middle, we don't use commas like that. Complete sentence, subordinated conjunction, complete sentence, full stop. And I told you it can be any sentence. And of course, it must be subject verb complement, subject verb complement. It depends on the writer. It can be simple sentence, compound, complex, complex compound. It depends. That's why. Catch it.
Yes.
Now let's jump to 17. Let me answer 17 to follow the rules. Let's follow the rules. Dash and the calling. Yeah, I told you before that if you found the single dash, remember, single dash and the calling at the same place, both of them wrong. Single dash equals calling. Both of them in the same place, months the same way here, both of them wrong. So now your job is before full stop complete. Let's check. Algeria marks its, so Algeria subject marks verb. Remember the word mark can be verb or noun, but here it's a verb. It's the third year of independence this month. The second the sentence, the bitter struggle for freedom in the late and became. So the struggle subject and became verb because all of these preposition phrases. So subject and verb. So is this sentence or fragment? Sentence. So letter D is correct. Y is wrong? The comma splice mistake. Complete sentence, comma, complete sentence, full stop wrong. And remember, Malak, when I say sentence, I mean any type of sentence. Don't follow the hacks of it's all the time simple sentence. No, can be complex, compound. So any complete, comma, complete, wrong. But remember, here I told you subordinated conjunction, complete, comma, complete. This one is different because here there is no subordinated conjunction. So be careful. That means here, comma splice mistake. That's it. Let's prove something else for B and C, why wrong. This called hack, and sometimes we follow the hack. But let's prove by evidence. Number one, for the dash. I told you before, if you wanted to use single dash or calling, before it must be complete sentence. Okay, here we have complete sentence. After them, it can be complete or incomplete. No problem. But the information after the single dash or calling, it must be explanation. Okay, but the second sentence is not explanation to the previous. It's a continuation. The writer continues ideas. So this one, not explanation to something mentioned in the preface. That means the single dash and the calling is wrong. That means the hack works. So B and C wrong. That's why. So we always follow the rules. Why do we have full stop here? Because this is complete sentence, whatever, complex or compound, whatever it is. So we need to check it. So any part fragment wrong. You understand it now? Malik, do you hear me?
Yes.
Now it's your turn for 18.
D.
Letter D, it's correct. Here we need adverb to prove what's going on. So that is correct. Now 19. Let me help you for this question. We test you sometimes for the modifier. What is the modifier? We give you a positive phrase or phrase at the beginning, and then comma, and then subject verb complement. And remember, because it happens a lot in the test. This is phrase or phrases describe the subject or the verb. Here we give you a positive phrase about the country, most famous for the Monte Carlo Casino. What is most famous for? Here there is also, here the country, here a world, here museum. Which one is the subject related to? We need to read and catch what is. He said here Monaco is a pioneer in marine conservation, was one of the first protected. So here we are talking about the country. Because what is most famous for the Monte Carlo Casino? The world? No. The museum? No. If there is, this is redundant, it's too long. Here we need to start with the subject, which is described before the comma. If this comma, it tells me the test about the modifier. Your job from the context to find what is or are most famous for. The information before. This is called the modifier. Put the subject in the correct placement. That's what. Your job in the test, find the subject of each sentence as we did. That's why. Right? Now again, check after the comma. Is this sentence? Yes. Country subject, is verb, and then complements. So the structure here it is correct. Letter A is wrong because the subject is museum. And it's redundant. We don't need there is. Why not use letter B? Shorter, direct, and correct. That's what. So we test you about the beginning of the sentence after the comma. That's it. Now let's jump to 20. Number 20, test you for idioms. The police must make efforts to do what with offenders, with criminals? To come down with something. So to come down with something, it means to deal with something severely to find the solutions. So it is idioms or phrasal verb expressions. That's why. So letter D is the best answer.